The place most black people like to live is in a box. And I'm not talking about being homeless. I'm not talking about being poor. I'm talking about a mental box. Most black people, as I see, they like to live their lives fitting within the caricatured stereotypes that were created by white supremacists. Um, Most black people don't want to come out of the box because the box is comfortable, the box is safe. As long as they play these predetermined roles, there's a certain place for him in society. And the whole thing is that there's a downside to being in a box. When you live in a box, you are stuck within the confines of the four corners and the top of the box. Um, it's very limiting. It's a very limiting way to live. And most black people think that by subscribing to the stereotype roles, fitting within the confined rules of white supremacy and racism, that they will receive rewards. But there are greater rewards when you get outside of the box. What's the whole downside of the box is it's very confining and it's very stifling. And when you live inside of a box like African Americans do, you can't grow. You're going to hit the ceiling, and that's what kills a lot of black people these days, is that they live inside of this box, and the box is choking them out. The box keeps them from growing. As long as they subscribe to the stereotype roles of the coons, the Uncle Toms. No, I'm not gonna say Uncle Toms, but it's Uncle Ruckuses, Hood Rats, which is really just the Sapphire and the Mammy. It keeps you from growing. It keeps you in a box. It keeps you confined to these limited roles in this limited space, and you never learn how to become yourself. You never establish your own identity, and you put on a false persona. And this false persona keeps you right where white supremacists want you to be, right at the bottom. And as long as you stay at the bottom, you can never grow into anything significant. You can never actualize your potential. And the problem with most black people is their potential is stifled by their fear. And that fear keeps black people from being the best they can be. As long as they do as they're a lot of black people, their mind is still stuck in slavery. I mean, even though the Emancipation Proclamation was written and the 13th and 14th Amendment and the Civil Rights Act and the Voting Rights Act, all of these laws were passed, black people have not taken an opportunity to capitalize on these laws or the tools that are in front of them because they're too afraid. They're still recounting old incidents like Rosewood and um, Black Wall Street instead of thinking, let's build another one. And this time, let's come up with a plan to protect it. That's what we really need to do right now. We really need an economic plan. We need black people to come up with this. But most black people, again, I'd say after the O.J. Simpson trial, where they saw that there could actually be justice, they chickened out and they started acting real coonish. And they started getting scared and they went back into the box. And then again, I say with the election of Barack Obama, again, black people went back into the box. Every time we make some progress in the struggle, many African Americans go right back to the box. They go right back to the stereotype roles. They go right back to the cooning and buffooning. And they go back into these roles because they're scared of a white reprisal. And I think it's time for black people to start stepping out of the box and start stepping out on God's promises and just really just start stepping out. And regardless of anything, because as I see it, the black race is merely being left behind and you're being taken for granted. And if you don't step out and stand, you won't stand out. And that's a big problem in the black community. People are afraid to step out. They're afraid of standing out. They're afraid of being punished and threatened. And it's like, sometimes you just have to do what you have to do. Because as I see it, you have nothing to lose. As long as you keep trying to fit within a box, you're not going to go anywhere. And what people do with boxes after a while is they throw them away or they crush them. And that's what they do with boxes. Because I worked in a supermarket and I saw this happen. You either threw it away or you crushed it. And that's why a box is not a good place for a black person to be. Because eventually a box is disposable. And when you fit the stereotype role, they're only going to let you. I mean, the world is only going to let. You're only going to go so far in the world. Not they, but you're only going to go so far in the world. And the whole thing is, when you get out of the box, you can create your own path. You can create your own direction. and you can set a course for your own life. And that's one of the philosophies I live by. Is not by living inside of a box. That's one of the reasons why I became an African American fantasy writer, because I said I wanted to create my own direction. Um, as long as you live in a box, you're limited. There's nothing you can really do. It's just that you're letting other people dictate things to you instead of you setting the terms for yourself. And I believe God wants us to go by His go and out and step out like that. He wants us to go outside of the box. He wants us to go outside of the world because He has much more for us in life than what's in that box, what's in the white supremacist box, and confining to these limited roles and this limited way of life. And eventually, it gets really frustrating being inside of the box because it's like you keep hitting your head against the ceiling, and you know there's more out there, but you won't go. You can't go for it because you're afraid to go for it because everybody's telling you that something's going to happen. So sometimes you just have to have faith and go out on it. And when you have faith and go out on it, that's the best thing you can do, because that's when you're going to grow, and that's when you're going to become what God wants you to be. That's when you're going to start actualizing your potential. And I believe Black people really have to start facing their fears. They have to start getting out of the stereotype box, because I don't. I feel that sometimes you have nothing to lose, and sometimes you just have to do what you have to do, and you can't be afraid to go out and do what you need to do. You have to go out and achieve all of your goals. You have to go out and push for what you want to push for. And the problem with and sometimes you just have to see where the chips fall. Um, Again, I believe just too many people are being scared, and they retreat back to the box. They retreat back to the box because they want they don't want to offend anyone. But sometimes I've learned that some of the things that are the most offensive to people are the things that are making them think, and people don't like to think. And when you get out of the box, that's when you really start making people think. When you try to play it safe, you're really not helping anybody. Nobody's going to learn anything from you, and nobody's going to get anything from the experience. That's what the box is: a safe, secure place. Everything is perfectly fine. Nothing offends anyone, and there's no thought in anything, and that's why everything gets so bland and dry these days, because nobody wants to think. I believe people have to think. They have to get out of these boxes. They have to get out of these stereotype ideas in this old traditional way, because it's really, I look at it, it's choking America, both black and white. This box, this racial box, this racism, this white supremacist, outdated concept of white supremacy, and this outdated racism, because it's killing us. It's keeping America from being competitive, and it's keeping people from being the best they can be. I believe that it's holding people back, and black people themselves have to get out of this way of thinking, because you're gonna be black people, as I see it, are being left out. They're being left behind because black people don't want to get out of this box. They want to stay safe. They want to stay secure, but you can't grow in a box. You can't. And if you do grow, you're eventually going to hit the ceiling, and and that's what's going to kill you. Again, you just have to have faith and step out. Have faith in God and step out and do what you need to do and believe in what you want to do. That's all I have to say for this video. You can comment, rate, and subscribe.